So give me a quick overview of what your business is, what you do in that kind of mining and entrepreneurial type space.
Okay, we are a mining exploration company. So we go around really the continent looking, to see where the minerals are in the continent, those that have been unexplored, and we just go out and test the environments, whether there is future mining in those areas.
And you've been doing this for a while now, huh?
Absolutely, I've been doing this thing for quite a while now. I think I started this thing in about 2004. Okay. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, immediately when I left Impala Platinum, yeah, that's when I started.
Good point. So you were in the corporate space before, and what kind of academic background did you have prior to that?
I'm an accountant, so I really I've got
an accountant that's doing geology.
Yeah, funny enough, I mean, one used to enjoy really the technical part of mining, really than the finance part. So I think really it was a natural progression that I drifted towards, geology, exploration, and that environment.
And explain that for me, because we talk a lot in Africa about people getting out of the corporate mindset and becoming entrepreneurial themselves. But for you, what made that possible?
I think what makes it possible is that once you are in the industry, you start realizing exactly, and you start reading more about the mineral potential in the continent. So you really start seeing that the biggest opportunity for me here, it is not sitting in a big company that has already been established, but to go out and create new industries, new mining industries for you. And exploration is an easiest way to be able to enter the mining industry as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And explain to me how the business process normally works. I mean, I guess let's talk generically about it. In other words, the idea is to find stuff, or not necessarily find stuff in a greenfield sense, but look for deposits that are known but not commercially exploited, prove them up, remove some of the risk associated with the project, look for bigger partners. I mean, is that the normal cycle?
Absolutely, that's a normal cycle. I mean, it's the cheapest basically entry, for one to be able to enter into it. So you identify an area. Obviously, there's a whole lot of studies that have been done. So an area that you identified is already desktop studies that says, there is a potential mineral in this particular space, and therefore obviously you start with the regulatory process where you apply for the licenses, for the concession, and all those sort of things. And therefore you do your basic federal desktop studies, do a bit of report, federal report, geological report, non-expensive that and stuff, up to a point whereby you start, easily to demonstrate exactly what is in here. And as you go further, therefore you will start the process of drilling, which is really the most expensive part of the exploration project. By the time you drill, though, you already have identified targets, you already identified areas that you think here they host the mineral.
So you wouldn't proceed to a drilling phase, obviously, unless you had a sense that this thing was going to be bankable, given prices and asset access and so on.
Well, I guess you can proceed to drilling before you find out that this thing is going to be bankable. But because drilling is the one really that takes it to bankable. But drilling merely allows you to say, fine, I've done the soil studies, I've done the geophysics studies, but I still need to check if what the studies are telling me geologically, there's something on the ground. Because sometimes this thing they lie. You do a study and it tells you there's something there. You drill. Nothing comes out, just a normal, beautiful South African
Especially when it's the issue of scale. In other words, something may have been worked in a small way. Anyway, sorry. I'm more interested in the issues around like South Africa versus Africa more generally, because it's interesting to me that you travel as much as you do. So what is that telling us about where the prospectivity is, or is it just more a personal decision?
South Africa is a very mature market in terms of mining. I think whatever it is here, people know exactly what I know about it. But when you go to the continent, it's a virgin territory. Much of the exploration has been done, in the 40s or so, and there were wars, and people are starting to come back there. There's no mature, a mining market there. So it really makes it easier for you to be able to enter that environment. While in South Africa, it's already we are sitting with conglomerates in South Africa. Outside there's absolutely.
And when people moan and say, "Oh, it's so hard to work up there," and so on, you seem to enjoy knocking around in some of these places.
One thing, I think the theory that I've sort of developed is to say, if the Oppenheimers, if Cecil John Rhodes came here for the first time and moaned about things that we're moaning about, to not have all these minings that you have. So if you really want to go out to the continent, much of the things that you're complaining about, really put them aside and focus on what you need to do. There are challenges, of course. I don't say don't be stupid, but I'm not simply saying that stop being spoiled by what South Africa provides. Go there knowing it's a virgin territory, and for you're going to have difficult challenges, but also biggest opportunities. I think in mining that may get here.
And of all the countries out there, which is the one that you've been focusing on the most?
Well, now, actually, I've focused on a couple of countries, but I think the one that we're focusing on now is in Botswana. We've got a nice exploration project. Shumba, it's a company called Shumba Resources. It's a coal exploration. As you know, Botswana is sitting with almost 200 billion tons of good quality coal. So that's where we're exploring now. That's, I'm also looking at Uganda. There's a huge mining potential that I think, because they're just on the border. They share the eastern side of Congo. Right. They're sitting with some nice mineral occurrences there. But Botswana now is the main thing. We are listing the company, I think, in the next coming 4 to 6 months. The process is ongoing, but it's an exciting opportunity now I think that is quite imminent in the next few months. Yeah.
Okay, I know from following you on Twitter that you've got a lot of views on lots of different things. I mean, if you talk about South Africa and the economic agenda in South Africa, obviously, different strategies are out there. The new National Planning Commission report is out. I mean, if there was one thing that had to change about the way that our economic discourse and economic policy in this country is being pursued, what would it be? In other words, I know there's a lot of toing and froing in this debate, but for you, what stands out as something that we don't give enough attention to? I
think for me, what we really don't give enough attention to is basically social infrastructure, issues like schools, clinics, roads, and I think if you really, big scale infrastructure projects, you are good at them. We can build a whole train in the next 5 years, but we are still failing to do, I think, things that are basic, water reticulation, sanitation projects, all those sort of things. And I think once we start concentrating there, putting much emphasis on the local government or local government infrastructure point of view, I really think things are going to start moving. So we need to be able to focus at that particular point. Big infrastructure projects, we are quite good on them, but smallest things that really don't even need probably engineers, if I have to put it that way. Those are sort of things that we are struggling with. And I think for me, those are the things that impact people's life more. Those are the things that if we can get to do them, we'll be able to enable people's mobility towards participating in the economy.
And one final question. I know you have roots in the Kwakwa area, and there are a lot of people that go into that area from a tourism point of view. But tourism looks to me like an industry tough to organize and regulate because it's so micro. But that surely is something we could be doing better at in terms of attracting people into some of our great tourist assets.
Absolutely. I think what we have seen, and probably one should say that for the past 17 years, tourism has been the industry that has grown much more than many other economic sectors. And I think there's still more that needs to be done. The target is to get about 20 million tourists by 2020. I think there's much more that needs to be done. We need to be able to liberalize the whole immigration process to allow tap the local market, the domestic market, and really expand to outside the common areas of Durban, of Cape Town, but to areas around the Drakensberg. You mentioned Kwakwa, which I believe it's absolutely the most beautiful place
Me too.
on the planet. And really, I think those are sort of tourism projects that needs to be cultivated because they've got a potential to create work at areas that absolutely need jobs.